It's Waxing Lyrical, baby.
Hello, Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical with Mains and Duts. I'm your host, Mains, and my colleague, trying out for a cornerback for the Philadelphia Eagles, is Mr. Neil Dutton. How are we, Neil?
Sadly, I suspect that I may show them all up, so there's no point in me doing it. Yeah. I don't want to ruffle any feathers.
Speed kills, but yeah. Back in the day, Neil, you may have been able to keep up with said players. I don't know what you're like now. But you know,
I think I could be asleep, and I'd probably be a little bit quicker than some of them.
Wasn't great, Neil. Wasn't great. We're going to get on to said team in a moment.
I should just point out just quickly, since the Eagles drafted Carson Wentz with the second overall pick in 2016, their drafts have been shit. I don't mean disappointing. I don't mean underwhelming. I mean shit.
Okay. Yeah, literally after last week's podcast and what people thought of my team, you're not getting any sympathy. This week, 3 plugged into the mains. We're going to talk about last year's playoff teams who could be in trouble. We're going to talk about the wasteland that is tight end, and we're going to give out final rights to the 2015 quarterback draft. Then we're going to go with Neil's fancy darling and loser of the week, and then we're going to finish it up with our DraftKings team of the week. Heavy Buffalo in mine this week.
Can't imagine why.
Can't imagine why, Neil. Let's get right into it and let's get in and plug into the mains. Dutton, every year there's always this conversation about will all the teams who made the playoffs last year make the playoffs again. And I think at the start of the year when we did it, I think we both picked maybe 11 of the 12, somewhere really high. But there are some in trouble on that, and I think we should talk about them. They're in no particular order. First team is the rocking Rams of Los Angeles, who at present are not only 3-3, but 2 games back of the Seahawks and 49ers in their division, having lost to both of them. They have tried to solve this by giving away more draft picks and signing a very good player in Jalen Ramsey, to be fair, and trading away Marcus Peters, who wasn't playing well for them. How much concern do you have that the Rams are a team that won't be in the playoffs this year?
It is a concern because while Jalen Ramsey is arguably one of the best players at his position, it was not a position of need in the context of winning their own division. Because their division, let's look. The San Francisco 49ers, as we've seen, are run-based team. They have a consolidated receiving game. It goes through George Kittle and probably everyone else chips in. The Seattle Seahawks are a run-based team, and their main receiver is Tyler Lockett, who plays in the slot.
Yeah.
And the Arizona Cardinals play 4 wide, but basically an awful lot of their production at the moment is coming from their 2 slot receivers and their running back. Jalen Ramsey does not play in the slot. So I can't help but wondering that it's going to be very nice that no one's going to throw to that side of the field. Yeah, they weren't going to anyway. So that's 6 games a season that, I'm not saying you're going to win, you're definitely going to lose them, but you've punted on them by basically saying, okay, well, Jalen Ramsey's fee for this season is obviously a bargain. It's $3 million, for the rest of the season, whatever it is. Yeah, you're going to have to pay him $13 million next year at least, and then you need to negotiate a new contract with him. I don't think it was addressing the real problem with this team, that is that their offensive line is garbage. And obviously Todd Gurley is a shadow of his former self, but they can't get the run game going, even with Malcolm Brown, who they like, Darrell Henderson, who they've not been able to do anything with. They can't block. So Jared Goff is, to quote Josh Norris, absolutely awful when he's pressured. He's pressured all the time. So you can't protect him, you can't get the ground game going, and you can't take your deep shots to Brandon Cooks because literally Goff cannot stand there in the pocket and take these shots. I am worried about them. We have faith in Coach Phillips because we've seen what he can do in the past, but this team just looks like it's struggling because it's now a case of, Sean McVay, you've done really well. What else have you got? And at present, it doesn't look like he's got an awful lot else.
Not this year anyway. I mean, that is obviously to be determined this year. The 2 games behind in their division, they've already lost to both of those teams. Um, the San Francisco 49ers play Washington this week, and that's a win. That would make them 6-0. The Patriots are already 6-0. The last time there was a single team who were both 6-0 in both divisions, they both went to the Super Bowl. So, that's an issue for the Rams because that's one less playoff place to get into. They've got to catch 2 games up on the Seahawks, who I know you say are a running team, but at present have the MVP as their quarterback. So that is a problem for them. Like, the team isn't playing well on either side of the ball. I understand why you would look to make the Ramsey trade. It makes sense, as in you want to mix something up. You're conceding lots of points, and Ramsey's a good shutdown corner. This week you have Julio Jones. Possibly next week you have AJ Green. You've probably got to play Amari Cooper. However, you do raise a valid point on the 3 games you've still got in division, Neil, which won't be relevant for Ramsey. The issue is this team hasn't had a pick, won't have had a pick in first round pick in 5 years. And they need to sort out the offensive line. And I'm not saying that first round draft picks on the offensive line always work, but there's a tendency that they work more than most. And they need to pick there, and they need to find players. So I understand the Jalen Ramsey pick, but surely the only call they should have made is to Washington, where for a first and a second, rather than 2 firsts and a fourth, they could have got Trent Williams.
It's a point you made the other day, though, that the Laramie Tunsil trade and the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade now has basically destroyed the market because now you have to pay this if you want cornerstone pieces.
Yep.
Now, whether your thoughts on what Jalen Ramsey are, he's a very good player, can be a headache, and let's does not forget that 2 quarterbacks that he has had issues with in the past, one of them he called bang average. That's Jared Goff. And another one who he was well aware of was sabotaging his team's offense is the backup quarterback for the LA Rams, Mr. Blake Bortles. So, he's not shy with his opinions. So, but we've seen when things are going well, it's an asset. It's not going well for the Rams at the moment, so we shall see.
Let's move over to the AFC West, Neil. 2 teams in that division struggling mightily. Not struggling mightily, I think that's a bit extreme. Well, one of them struggling mightily, one of them is 4-2. But has come off the back of 2 losses, two good teams in the Colts and the Texans, but not necessarily 2 teams you'd expect them to lose to, especially when both games were in Arrowhead. As someone mentioned, the other team, obviously the Los Angeles Chargers, as someone quite rightly mentioned, I assume that every game in the history of the Los Angeles Chargers has to end up with Phil Rivers running around trying to throw something into the end zone in the last minute of the game.
Yeah, that is their lot in life. It's, to quote Chris Wesley, it's their move. They're going to use it.
I think if we start with the Chiefs, Neil, the issue is the same issue as it was last year. They can't stop anyone. They can't. Now, they can't stop anyone. It's fine when it was like the Rams and they scored 50 points because they scored them really fast. The issue is they can't stop anyone, i.e. get off the field. So they lost to the Texans and the Colts because they can't get off the field. And they lost because their all-world quarterback is, not all-world at the moment because he's injured.
See, they were another team that were, thought to be in the Jalen Ramsey sweepstakes, and they're another team that, no, you're ignoring the real issue here. You can't stop the run. So you saw what the Colts did. They ran it down your throat. You've seen what the Texans did. They ran it down your throat. So they're a team that should be looking at someone like, Leonard Williams, maybe, to just come in and say, look, you can't run on us because you're going to have to double team him. Because at the moment, we said this, that we don't need the Chiefs' defence to be the 2000 Ravens. They just need to be a middle-of-the-road unit. And they're not. They're a terrible unit. And
they need to be the Colts Super Bowl under Manning good, which is like 20.
Yeah, or the Saints under Breeze when they won the Super Bowl. They weren't shut down. They allowed a lot of yards, but they had sacks, they had turnovers. This team generates no pressure and doesn't take the ball away. So I think, Patrick Mahomes obviously is underperforming. He's still on pace to throw for more yards than he did last year, but his touchdowns are levelling off. Well, we knew that was going to happen.
But last year it was unsustainable. So the issue is, last year they were above expectation, and that masked, quote unquote, the defense. This year it's probably normal, and the defense isn't very good.
Yeah, I mean, they're shooting themselves in the foot as well, because their opening touchdown drive against the Texans was 116 yards. Now, for anyone not really familiar with it, a football field is 100 yards long. So that tells us something, that they're putting themselves in tough positions and hoping for miracles. And on that opening drive, they got one, because that first touchdown, no, stop it. How to paraphrase Nasser Hussain, you cannot do that. But you can't bank on miracles, because as Andrew Brandt says, hope is not a plan.
Los Angeles somehow have lost 4 games and won 2 and have a plus scoring. They've lost to the Lions, the Texans, the Broncos and the Steelers. I think the Lions and the Texans can be seen as somewhat acceptable. In division to the Broncos, and losing an away game at home to the Steelers is an issue, a big issue, especially when your best wide receiver is basically calling everyone out.
Well, it doesn't help that they basically had a running back who was away for 9 weeks. He came back in and they immediately decided that he had to be the focal point of the offense. He's done nothing. He has made this offense look worse, because you're giving him the ball and not Austin Eckler, and not throwing it to Keenan Allen. You are trusting Melvin Gordon to be monstrously efficient with 2 months of rust. Now, he's come out, Melvin Gordon, and said, I think I need more carries. Yeah, I'm sure you do, son. But no. We are seeing the final days of Melvin Gordon as a Charger, because he's hurting his own brand. Should have stayed away the whole season, or come in as late as possible just to get the season. Because at the moment, you're destroying your value because you look terrible.
Final 2 teams, Neil, are 2 teams, one close to your heart, two both from the NFC East. Eagles and Cowboys play each other this week, Sunday, is it the night? Sunday night,
yeah.
Wow. I didn't know Joe Buck and Troy Aikman did Sunday nights. Anyway, Eagles 3-3, Cowboys 3-3. Both have major issues and major flaws. Eagles injuries in secondary, Cowboys offense and efficiency.
The Eagles are slow. As you said before, speed kills. This team has none of it. They are slow, plodding, and trying to be too methodical on offense. So they are being forced to go. Every drive has got to be 12 plays, 4 yards a play or something, because there's no speed element. Now, they brought in Deshaun Jackson to be this field stretcher. That's fine, but it doesn't say you're only allowed 1 speedy wide receiver. You can go out and get more. So this is why it's frustrating when you see that the Eagles spent a second-round pick on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and he was a big possession receiver. They've got some of them. And then you see people like, Terry McLaurin doing as well as he is, and DK Metcalf doing as well as he is with his limited route tree. Yeah, but he's got one very, very important thing: speed. Terry McLaurin has got speed, and the Eagles were the first team who saw that. And I say the problem is, so their offense is slow. They have to be perfect because they can't. There's no big plays, but the defense are 1 play away from a touchdown. Because this is the thing, though. Everyone knows you can't run on the Eagles, so don't bother. Because the Eagles, we all know that Jim Schwartz. I'll get pressure with 4. As the good people on the Kist and Solak show pointed out, it's not about getting pressure with the front four. It's about the fact that Jim Schwartz wants 8 men in the box. Now that's great. It stops the run. It's 2019. This adherence that people have stopping the run, it's killing the Eagles. Because tell you what, maybe don't. If you just took a man out of the box and put a safety further back, you wouldn't have Stephon Diggs one-on-one with people as fast as me or you. And as much to quote friend of the show Denny Carter, it is a very high T move to say that you're stopping the run. It's bollocks. It doesn't work in 2019.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't, Neil. More fun this isn't fun, like, because you actually know what you're talking about on the Eagles. It's boring. So let's talk about the Cowboys. That's well more fun. Bravo, by the way. You beat the Giants, the Redskins, and the Dolphins. 3 of the worst 5 teams. You then lost. If
we could pat ourselves on the back, we did say after 3 games, can we wait till they've played someone, please?
So they played the Saints, probably the best team in the top 2 in the NFC. Would you say?
I think they're the best team in the NFC.
Yeah, and they lost. Yeah, they played the Packers. Decent. I think top 5 in the NFC probably at the moment. Lost. So that's okay. As we now then, they're a good bad team, right? Then they play the New York Jets, and I know Sam Darnold came back, but he hadn't been fully fit, and they lost.
And the problem they had as well is that they lost parts of their offense, so that they basically had to force feed Ezekiel Elliott when they were down 3 scores. Now I know they were a 2-point conversion away from forcing overtime, but when you've got no weapons, I mean, Michael Gallup wasn't good. The problem is that the Jets have an underrated defense, and Greg Williams is a psychopath. So he was, on a 2-point conversion, he sent an 8-man blitz.
Yeah,
on a 2-point conversion, man.
I think what we need to say to anybody who's listening, especially Cowboys fans, it's all fine. You don't need to change anything. You keep doing what you're doing. It's all fine. The coach is doing a wonderful job. The owner, wonderful job. But as a text Neil, and as I heard from, I think it was on the Ringer NFL show, that owner sacked Tom Landry as soon as he got in the door, and has allowed Jason Garrett to be the head coach for a decade. Oh, by the way, he also fired Jimmy effing Johnson after he won the Super Bowl. If you don't know what the issue is, why you don't win Super Bowls every year, I can't help you.
Yeah, it's a commitment to mediocrity. Because it's one of those. Dan Snyder has no patience, whereas Jerry Jones seems to have infinite patience.
He doesn't have infinite patience. He has a control problem. He's very similar to Dan Snyder, except Jerry Jones's mates, i.e. his son, and Jason Garrett, are competent. Not spectacular, they are competent. Okay? Daniel Snyder is mates with Bruce Allen and no coaches on the planet. Therefore, disaster area.
The Charles Robinson and Therese Paylor were saying that Jerry Jones is with the Jerry Jones Jason Garrett relationship is akin to the man who keeps betting on 17 at roulette in the hopes that it'll come in one day. It's like, no, this coach isn't good enough. Better get another one. No, 17's my lucky number. I'll keep rolling with it. Yeah, it might work one day, and you'll look like a genius, but it's taken a lot to get here.
Yeah. Neil, let's move on. You are the fantasy tight end guru of the NFL.
They don't make it easy for me.
What a wasteland. I'm just going to give you some examples. Will Disley, who reappeared in our world, out. OJ Howard, only able to catch baseballs at baseball games. Let's say how bad it is. The former play-by-play guy, former colour commentator on the ESPN Monday Night Football, at the moment is tight end 10 in most fantasy leagues.
It's not good. And I wrote last year former Underworld player profiler, sorry, that a tight end renaissance was coming because so many teams seem to have so much talent at their tight end position. And nothing's happened. We've seen, in retrospect, the Eagles' selection of Dallas Goedert was a waste because they had Zach Ertz. O.J. Howard. Sometimes we talk about coach-centric analysis, and it's just too easy. The Arians doesn't use his tight end. Yeah, but he's never had one like this before. Yeah, but so what? It's still a fact of the matter is that his clueless quarterback would rather throw to Cameron Brate than O.J. Howard. That's an issue. Will Dissly shouldn't have been as productive as he was because he's just a man mountain. But all of a sudden he was. It comes to something like that. Hunter Henry has played 2 games. 2 games. Most other tight ends have played 6. Hunter Henry is the tight end 17 in fantasy points. He's played 2 games. It's the problem is that running backs are still getting targeted more in the passing game. And they're clogging up the targets that tight ends should be taking. And now more and more wide receivers, it used to be, you just put your smallest guy in the slot, whereas now a lot of wide receivers are playing in the slot. That's another role where tight ends used to make their bones. So it's all very well, you can have all the talent in the world, but they're still so inconsistent. And, it pains me because I don't want to be writing articles about how Darren Fells is could be a viable streamer. I don't want to write those pieces because I don't believe it myself.
Neil, final thing. Speaking of O.J. Howard, speaking of Cameron Brate, last week we'd like to give our last rites and testament to the 2015 quarterback draft, which I believe died on Sunday. Here are the picks. Number 1, Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Jameis Winston, Florida State. He done. Number 2, Tennessee Titans select Marcus Mariota, quarterback, Oregon. Just been replaced by Ryan Tannehill. He done. 75, the New Orleans Saints draft Garrett Grayson, quarterback, Colorado State. Nope. 89, the St. Louis Rams select Sean Mannion, quarterback, Oregon State. Number 103, the New York Football Jets select Bryce Petty, quarterback, Baylor. Nope. And finally, number 147, Green Bay Packers select Brett Hundley, quarterback, UCLA. No thank you. No thank you. Good night, 2015 quarterback draft. We barely knew thee.
Just if we start at the very top, Mr. Dagnall, Tampa Bay Bucks fan as we know, after speed watching the game on Sunday, in his own words, I'm just flying through it. If the Bucks offer Winston a new deal after this year, I swear I'm changing teams. I've raged about him for 5 years. He looked awful against the Panthers, and it was a classic, it's going to go wrong, so everything's going to go wrong. But at one point, he was pump faking the ball with the defender right in his face. It's like, even if he buys the pump fake, he's going to hit you. So you've achieved nothing there. Fumbling on back-to-back plays in the red zone on a drive just before the end of the half was a special moment of ineptitude.
Yeah, I think Neil, Winston's done. Marcus Mariota's done in Tennessee. He's never been coached properly. No, I don't think he'll ever make it, but I would have quite liked to have seen him at Tampa with Bruce Arians, for example. The others, but if they think that Ryan Tannehill is the answer, then what's the question?
The thing is, I don't think that in their heart of hearts they think that that Ryan Tannehill is the answer. I just think they haven't got an answer. They're just trying to find a different way of posing the question.
Yeah, probably.
And it's Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man meme.
Yeah,
they're both noodle-armed. They both hold the ball too long. They're both walking, waiting for disaster on third down because they're going to get sacked. They're a team that I thought, going into the season that if Mariota could be competent and kept upright, the weapons he had were the best he'd ever had of his career. But if he can't get the ball to them, and he's not being helped because, I think we should have seen the first warning signs that an offensive coordinator called Arthur Smith in the year 2019 is probably not going to be too innovative. But that it's a very, very it's a boring offense to watch, and it doesn't help that he's not been blocked for particularly well. He's just a sitting duck back there. His mobility just doesn't seem to be what it was. I like Marcus Mariota. I said he was, he was one of those that I wouldn't have minded the Eagles trading up to get him, but instead they traded up the next year to get Carson Wentz. After that first season, I said I'd still take Mariota over Wentz. That opinion has changed dramatically since the end of the 2016 season, I should point out. But all the rest of the quarterbacks taken in this draft were bums, and it's been proven. But these two are the only quarterbacks in the fifth-year option era that are going to play out that fifth year on the contract, and neither of them are going to get a new one from this team.
True, Neil.
The Tampa Bay Bucks will still have never handed out a second quarterback contract.
Good news. Bravo. Let's dive into fancy, Neil. Tell me who you're excited for in Week 7 with your fancy darling, please.
Hello, darling.
I don't think it should come as no surprise at all that the person that I am absolutely loving this week is T.Y. Hilton. So he should be back. He's well rested. He was injured. He's going to come back from that. We know when he's on the field, he's a target hog for the Colts. He's playing the Texans, who he routinely burns. He's playing indoors. I honestly don't know what more you want me to say. It's all about thank you, T.Y. this week.
The opposite of T.Y. would be someone who's going to stink this week, and Neil's going to explain it all with his fancy loser.
We've already touched on it. It's Keenan Allen. The Chargers are at Tennessee, but I don't think it matters where the Chargers are. They're going to be at, even if they're at home. The Titans, not a bad defense. It's just a terrible offense. They've not allowed a 100-yard receiver in 2019. Allen averages 89.3 yards at home compared to 73 yards away. He hasn't scored a touchdown away from Los Angeles. He does have 3 in the confines of home. I just think this offense is going in the complete wrong direction because they're pinning their hopes on Melvin Gordon when they should be pinning it on the short passing game with Keenan Allen, with Hunter Henry, and with Austin Eckler. So I don't love Allen this week in the slightest.
No, that team's, not good. Anyway, let's move swiftly on and talk about our fancy teams of the week.
Mains and Duts. Daily Fantasy Team of the Week.
Show me the money.
Who's your quarterback, Neil?
Well, he disappointed last week, but I'm going back to the well with Gardner Minshew II. Jacksonville are playing the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, if we think the Eagles' defense has got problems, whoa, mama, there is no one healthy for the Cincinnati Bengals in the backfield. They were terrible against the run anyway, and now you can probably pick them apart at your leisure. So, Gardner Minshew, 5,400.
Do you know that Adrian Peterson got over 100 yards last week?
The run, it was established.
Quarterback is Mr. Josh Allen. Miami at Buffalo, he's 6,500. He may not throw a lot, but boy will that boy run. And run he shall.
Are they 17-point favourites?
I'm not sure that should be. They are a good team and will win 10 plus games, but they will win 10 plus games by a combined 20 points.
Yeah, the Bills don't blow people out.
No, I don't think so. Who's your running back 1, Neil?
Running back 1, again, I'm going to go back to the well with David Johnson, 7,800. The Cardinals are at the Giants, and the Giants' defense stinks.
By Jove, he's right. My running back 1 is Dalvin Cook, Minnesota at Detroit. Dalvin Cook's good. That Eagles thing was not something that will happen every week. That was a one-off anomaly allowed by Mike Zimmer, given the fact that, as Neil's quite rightly pointed, me with a torn Achilles and Neil being Neil with the corners. So, 8,000, a lot of money, but lots and lots of the ball. Who's your running back 2, Neil?
the man I was going to go with last week instead of David Johnson, Leonard Fournette. The Jaguars against the Bengals. The Bengals, who gave up 150 yards rushing to Lamar Jackson. Fournette his workload is phenomenal. He literally is the only one in that backfield who carries the ball. He caught 6 of 6 targets last week. He's a workhorse. The touchdowns, hopefully they'll come as well. But this could be an absolute smash spot for Leonard Fournette, 7,000.
My running back 2 is the inconvenient truth, Mr. Frank Gore. Playing Miami, former team. He's just super awesome. He's 5,200, and much like last week when I picked Larry Fitzgerald, it's not often you get many more chances you get to pick Gore, so take it. Who's your wide receiver 1, Neil?
Larry Fitzgerald, 6,100. The Giants' defense stinks.
My wide receiver 1 is Michael Gallup. He's playing the Philadelphia Eagles, and their cornerbacks stink. And he'll probably be in the place Diggs was, with Cooper on the Thielen side. You do the math.
The only worry I would have for Gallup, obviously it's a burnable secondary, but if Tyron Smith isn't playing, they're going to have their backup. So it's a question of whether is Prescott going to have the time that Kirk Coupons was afforded to take his shots downfield.
Of course. Wide receiver 2, Neil.
5,900 T.Y. Hilton.
My wide receiver 2 is Golden Tate, 5,800. Giants do stink, but Golden Tate's he can't be awesome anymore because he's on the New York Giants. But he'll get a lot of targets, I think, against the pretty stinky Arizona secondary.
Sterling Shepard apparently they don't think he's going to be back very quickly from this concussion, which is a worry.
Yes.
He played well. I mean, it would help if Daniel Jones and maybe Pat Shermer could maybe design some plays where Golden Tate doesn't have defenders draped all over him when he's going to catch the ball. Maybe get him open. But he showed he was good against the Patriots, and we know how good the Patriots defense is. So, he's not a bad shout.
Who's your wide receiver 3, Neil?
One of my takes from the off-season that has come to fruition, and I couldn't be happier about it, is I said, even though the volume may not be there, Kenny Golladay is still a damn stud. And he is. And he remains a stud. And he is 5,800 against the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings defense is not... The secondary is not tremendous. If you actually look, if Alshon Jeffrey could run in a straight line, he scores a long touchdown against them. Instead, he catches it and thinks, I'm good. It was infuriating. Kenny Golladay is an absolute beast. He's 5,800, and I'm having him all day.
My wide receiver 3 is Robert Woods, LA Rams at Atlanta. Rams struggled greatly. Have you seen Atlanta play defense? It's horrific. Exactly. I expect the Rams to not exactly get back to last year's best, but to be back in the game and Woods to be a major part of that. He's 5,900.
Do you know Matt Ryan's 300 yards in every game this season?
Matt Ryan's been sneaky awesome. Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think in 4 of those games as well, he's averaged 11 adjusted yards per attempt.
No.
So word to the wise, he's not the problem. So
yeah. We have had issues with the Atlanta offense. This season shouldn't necessarily be one of them. Neil, who's your tight end?
Hunter Henry, 4,000. The Titans, as good as they are against wide receivers, are not as great against tight ends. So hopefully, if they find they can't run with Melvin Gordon, then Hunter Henry, he does play out wide. They do split him out an awful lot, but if he plays inside as well, he's always good for a touchdown. And Phil Rivers averages, I think it's nearly 14 adjusted yards per attempt over his career when he targets Hunter Henry. So, that'll do for me.
I've got Hunter Henry as well. Get him while you can. He's not always with us, but when he is, he's a stud. Who's your flex, Neil?
Frank Gore, 5,200.
Yeah. I've got Josh Jacobs, Oakland against Green Bay. could be an issue if it gets out of hand, but Green Bay don't seem to be able to get games out of hand. So if it's a game in hand, the whole Oakland offense runs through Josh Jacobs, which is ironic, as dude couldn't get on the field for Nick Saban at Bama.
Do you know, at one point against the Detroit Lions, the starting wide receivers for the Packers, because of injury, they were all undrafted players.
It's crazy.
So it's one of those that they have the rotting corpse of Jimmy Graham at tight end, and they have Jake Kumaro or Alan Lazard, or I can't even remember another bloke literally playing. Excuse me. Oh, yeah, so maybe they don't have the firepower to blow teams out, so this enables other teams to stick with the run.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's good news for Josh Jacobs.
Who's your defense and special teams, Neil?
The Arizona Cardinals, because they like blitzing an awful lot, and Daniel Jones didn't look terrific against when he was pressured by the Patriots. So Daniel Jones, as I say, has not become the Messiah. He's not a very naughty boy. He's just not the Messiah yet. It's the where's your God now, as I pointed out.
Yeah.
This game could be quite high scoring, so that means the ball's going to be in the air, which is a good chance for sacks and turnovers. They're 2,400. Sorry.
My defense is the Saints. They're playing the Bears. The Saints' defense is really good, and the Bears are either playing Mitchell Trubisky or Chase Daniel. Both of which.
Chase Daniel revenge game.
#ungood. So Saints all the way for that one. Neil?
Can you believe that? Let's just take a quick minute here. We talk about the death of the 2015 quarterback class. Let's take a minute to remember that the Bears traded up for Mitchell Trubisky and left Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes on the board.
Yeah.
Let's just take a minute to remember this.
I think that dude's still got a job, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just to prove that anybody can still have a job when doing things really badly. Neil, let's quickly recap. Who's your quarterback?
Gardner Minshew.
How about Josh Allen, running back 1?
David Johnson.
Dalvin Cook, running back 2.
Leonard Fournette.
I've got the inconvenient truth, wide receiver 1.
Larry Fitzgerald.
Michael Gallup, wide receiver 2.
T.Y. Hilton.
Golden Tate, wide receiver 3.
Baby Tron.
I've got Robert Woods, tight end.
Hunter Henry.
I also have Hunter Henry. Flex.
Frank Gore.
I have Josh Jacobs. And defense and special teams.
The Cardinals of Arizona.
Now I've got the Saints. Neil, before we go, where can people catch you this week?
Follow me on Twitter at endupton13. Usual fare for me. My Number Fire weekly stats to know article. My wide receiver report, where I reveal the shocking differences in terms of efficiency between Odell Beckham with Eli Manning and Baker Mayfield. It's not pretty. And also my tight end streamer column, both the last two for Rotoviz. And hopefully, touchboard, I shall be back on TalkSport 2 with Nat on Sunday night.
Fantastic. I am at Mangy7. I will be doing the Touchdown 3 coming out later this week. Picked the Eagles and the Cowboys last week. Screw you guys. Hopefully back on the horse this week. Combined, we are at waxing_lyrical. Enjoy week 7. Hope our insight assists you in your march towards the playoffs. And on that note, these top guys are out.
Beat Dallas.